Then Harold noticed something. A sturdy diesel was coming round the mountain. Harold flew lower for a closer inspection. "I'm Rusty," replied the diesel. "Sir Topham Hatt sent me to help the other engines," huffed Rusty. This was no time for a chat with a helicopter. "Cheeky chopper," muttered Rusty. "Not long now," encouraged the driver. "We'll soon be at the top station." He did so next morning. Rusty promised to follow with the rest. Soon they reached the quarry where the cars were needed. Rusty was working nearby and came to help clear up the mess. "Bust my buffers," exclaimed Rusty. "Never mind, Peter Sam. We'll get you out." "Thank you, Rusty," he sighed and limped slowly home. When the wreckage was cleared away, Rusty set off along the line. "Harold, I'm completing my evening's lookabout." "Well done. Cheers, and keep up the good work." And the little diesel purred back home. Skarloey had been to the works to be mended. He felt much better. Rusty the diesel was helping him off his rail car. "I help to mend the line and do odd jobs," explained Rusty. "I hear everyone is looking forward to seeing you again. Come on." The surprise was Skarloey. "Oh," said Peter. "You know," he said, "if I couldn't see these familiar faces and places, I'd think I was on a different railway." Rusty laughed. "I'm glad you're pleased. Manager said let's mend the track so well that he won't know where he is. And we did. And you didn't, if you take my meaning." Skarloey liked this hard-working diesel. "There's still one bad bit," warned Rusty, "just before the first station. An engine might come off there, particularly Duncan. He will rock and roll along the line. Look at him right now. I hope he doesn't hurt his passengers." "Speak up!" Rusty warned Duncan about the bad bit of rail. Huh! Rusty felt hurt. "I warned him," said Rusty. "But all he did was call me names." The little diesel refused to move. "Think of the passengers. What are they going to do?" "Oh, I'd forgotten them. Yes, of course. We must help the passengers." And Rusty roared into life. The passengers had to get out and help, too. At last, evening came. "That's all right, Duncan. Suits me," replied Rusty. "We'll mend that bad bit of rail first thing tomorrow." Rusty, the little diesel, worked hard carrying workmen up and down the line. They were removing branches and leaves so water could flow away. But one morning, Rusty's driver brought bad news. He talked of nothing but steamrollers. "Oh dear," whispered Skarloey. "He's worse than ever. I'm sorry my plan was no good." "Never mind," said Rusty. "We'll think of something else." But they had no need to do that. Sir Handel never mentioned steamrollers now. In springtime, Rusty loves to visit a faraway place. It's filled with bluebell. The air smells sweet, and Rusty thinks there is no better place to be. One day, Thomas was passing by just as Rusty was having a drink. "Beep, beep. Good morning. Your driver looks a little worried. I wonder why." "I don't know," said Rusty, "but I soon will." "Excuse me," said Rusty, "but is something wrong?" "Yes, indeed," replied the driver. "A bluebell engine," laughed Rusty. "Maybe I can find one." Later, Rusty saw Douglas and Percy. Rusty had an idea. Can you help me find another engine? Where you found Oliver. Yes, I'm looking for a Bluebell engine. And Rusty explained everything. Then Rusty decided. So that's where I'll go. Rusty told the driver all about the plan. And that night he came back to the shed. Right, said Rusty. We'll find one tomorrow. It took them all of the next day to travel to the other railway. Darkness fell and the cold wind blew. Oh, what's that?
Who are you?
Rusty plucked up courage. I'm a shed and sidings inspection diesel. Have you any engines in the shed?
No, none.
Rusty rallied again. Then what about the sidings?
One. We have one.
Rusty grew braver still. Then I'll just go and inspect. Excuse me, said Rusty. Do you like bluebells? Then you're soon going to see lots of them because I'm getting you out of here. Rusty's engineer agreed to be Stepney's fireman. So off they set, past the bleak and brooding lines of diesels. Just down the line, replied Rusty. And they chuffered quickly away. We've done it, whispered Rusty. We're over the border and back on our own railway. Mission accomplished. When Rusty and the engine arrived in the valley, a big welcome awaited them. His driver was delighted. I wouldn't be here if it weren't for Rusty. Later he saw Rusty. The little diesel had helped save Stepney from scrap. I think you should tell Driver, too, replied Rusty. I'm sure he'll understand. Then he puffed away. What about Diesel?
The Bluebell engine works closely with his friend Rusty. One day, Sir Topham, Peter Sam, and Rusty often worked together. One day, Rusty helped Peter Sam to a water tower. He was. And who's to say you're not afraid of ghosts? Snapped Rusty. Well, I'll tell you a story that will make your funnel quiver, Rusty said. So what do you think of that, Duncan? Never mind him, Peter Sam. He'd be frightened if he really saw a ghost. This gave Peter Sam's driver an idea. Rusty, the little diesel, met Thomas and Percy. "A new quarry," replied Rusty. "This mountain rock is good for many things, although it's dangerous up there. Was of a big boulder. I think it's watching me," said Rusty nervously. "Well, Percy, there's something strange about this one." He was delivering a new piece of machinery for the quarry. "What's that?" asked Rusty. When it rained, the workmen went away. Rusty gazed up, and suddenly a large slab of rock landed on the rails. Rusty was shocked. "I think it's Boulder wanting us to go away." Rusty noticed something. Boulder's moving. It's rolling along our line. "We'll stop here until Boulder passes by," said the driver. Then, oh no, it's behind us. Just ahead, they saw a small junction. One line went uphill. Boulder thundered past. "Yes, but how?" called Rusty. He moved Boulder to a hill close by the yards. Rusty is sure that on a clear night, it is gazing up at the mountain and that it's... Later, Thomas had to help clear snow by a tunnel. Rusty was close by. "Driver says this winter is as bad as the worst winter of all." "I'll tell you," replied Rusty. And then the little engine did. And then came the funny part. Well... No one knew that the heat from Skarloey's engine had helped to make an igloo, as if nothing had happened. "Or snow," said Rusty. and then fell as silent as the snow. The engines were going to help Duncan with an important job at the incline railway. The engines enjoy working at the incline, but he was already in too much of a hurry. "I'm a plain-speaking engine," gruffed Duncan. "So collect your slate cars and be quick about it." And off he steamed. "He just wants to get back to the bustle of the junction," Rusty said. Duncan wanted everyone to work faster. "We're proper engines," Rusty huffed crossly. "We follow the rules. We can't send up more than 4 slate cars at a time," Duncan called as he hastily biffed one slate car into another. "Those slate cars will pay you back," warned Rusty. "Slate cars don't like to be biffed." The 3 little engines could see Duncan was not going to listen. Rusty returned to see Duncan being pulled up the incline. "I tried to warn him," said Rusty. "He never listens," the little diesel's driver said. Plummeted down the incline. When Sir Topham Hatt arrived, he spoke severely to Duncan. "Once you have been repaired," Sir Topham Hatt said, "the island of Sodor." Rusty's best friends are Rheneas and Skarloey. Rusty helps keep their line clear. Sometimes, Rusty works so hard clearing their line that the little diesel forgets there's also work to be done at the quarry. Sir Topham Hatt was cross. "Sorry, sir," Rusty's driver said. "It takes too much of your time," said Sir Topham Hatt. Rusty was upset. "But what will Rheneas and Skarloey do?" Rusty asked. He had made up his mind. There was nothing Rusty could do. And hills, most of all, they missed their passengers. Rusty could see they were not happy. Sir Topham Hatt came to the quarry with important news. "It won't be safe for you here." "Please, sir," Rusty said. "May we use the 2 weeks to repair Rheneas and Skarloey's line? Then they can go back to their old jobs." "But you have only 2 weeks to complete the job," he said sternly. Elizabeth, the quarry truck, thought cleaning up the line was ridiculous. "We can't give up," said Rusty. The engines worked harder than ever. The next day, Rusty had a very clever idea. "If only we had a truck to help us," Rusty sighed. Elizabeth stopped. "Well, I couldn't possibly help you." "Well, we do need a special kind of truck," Rusty teased. "It requires hauling," said Rusty. "And pulling heavy branches," added Rusty. "So you'll do it," said Rusty. Elizabeth was as good as her word. She hauled rubbish and pulled branches from the line. She helped remove a fallen sycamore tree from the cattle creep. "Thank you, Elizabeth," said Rusty. "We couldn't have done it without you." Sir Topham Hatt inspected the line. He was very impressed. Rusty was proud, and Rusty just smiled to play the organ. "Look," Rusty teased, "it's Duncan the musical engine." Engines tooted back, except Duncan.
The heat and dust made their axles ache. All the engines were talking excited. Peter Sam soon found Rusty. The storm had swept the shed onto the line.
"Driver says this shed is useless now."
He wasn't sure he was good enough to make the trip special. When Rheneas arrived at the station, the children and their teacher were waiting on the platform.
"You know the mountains better than any engine,"
said Rusty. But Rheneas wasn't sure his best would be exciting enough. Meanwhile, Rusty was working on the Rocky Ridge line.
"The tracks must be closed for repairs."
"Bust my buffers!" chuffed Rheneas.
"Be careful," cried Rusty. "The tracks are very bumpy."
Duncan was feeling impatient. "Get a move on, slow coach," he puffed crossly to Rusty. A little later, he met Rusty at the New Park station. "Better safe than fast," Rusty agreed. Slow down, whistled Rusty. "I can't." Duncan was repaired in time for the opening of Elephant Park. Hooray for Duncan's mistake, cheered the engines. Then came the surprise. Harold's pilot received an urgent call from Sir Topham Hatt. They were helping to build a new line. Sir Topham Hatt arrived with important news. Just then, Skarloey chugged in. All the engines were ready for the grand opening.
Where's Skarloey?
Rusty asked. Sir Topham Hatt declared the new line open. Everyone cheered.
Even so, you were still late.
Teased Rusty. But because I was late, Sir Topham Hatt was right on time. On the island of Sodor, the little diesel checks that the tracks, tunnels, and bridges are all in good working order. One day, Rusty was crossing the old wooden bridge. Rusty's driver stopped to check the bridge. There are cracks in the supports, he said.
Ooh, that could be dangerous,
cried Rusty.
It might fall down if it's not repaired.
The engines were waiting for their coal when Rusty arrived.
Don't use the old wooden bridge,
said Rusty.
It's dangerous.
Rusty hurried down the mountain to tell Sir Topham Hatt the bad news. Meanwhile, nobody is to use it. Rusty, called Skarloey.
I'd better check he's all right,
The little diesel said. But Rusty was on the way. Soon the little diesel reached the old wooden bridge. Rusty chuffed bravely onto the bridge. Soon they were coupled up.
Hold on,
Said Rusty. Just in time.
Don't use the old wooden bridge,
Said Rusty.
It's dangerous.
Sir Topham Hatt was cross with Duncan.
Oh, thanks. Thank you, sir.
Rusty felt very reliable, too.
We've done it, whispered Rusty. We're over the border and back on our own railway.